Greetings, it's Intuitive Jacob back. We're going to do I can't really call it an astrology reading. Those of you that follow with me know about the suggested reading material here about how beings didn't land in names for the stakes that I'm getting paid as first lien position taxes, for the, well, I'm not winking at anybody, but, those irises and what it looks like on the other side of a browser. I've programmed a game. I'm going to flip between this chart and another chart because you're actually looking at what looks like my birth chart. I woke up in August of 2015 after the nuclear fallout in a quarantine unit, and then was transferred to a hospital and told a bunch of lies about what had just happened to me. And I've been dissecting this with the help of some very special scientists, and we've created a protocol to infuse light codes to the safe that weren't bought and sold in some phony on and off controlling you in an epic Fortnite way that you didn't realize on the other side of what http:// looks like when they're poking you in the eye with biometrics and controlling you on cell phones. There's some things that your astrologers haven't really been explaining to you in a way that I find adequate. I'm not an astrologer. This is bioenergetic readings that I'm doing. And I was dead, as I'm saying all of us were in a crash where we were shattered and pixel scattered according to certain people's reference points. That's not how I write about it, think about it, or believe. So this here, there's a link to this book in the description, Inside Degrees by Elias Lonsdale. This good book, Developing Your Soul Biography, using the Chandra symbols with a new blooper rinse on it. I have some degrees that I've listed below in the description for those of you that like to follow along. And I'm going to be marking up this chart. And thank you to those who have proven what the Hippocratic Oath is with me. This is an act of gnosis, where no means no, Okay, so what are we looking at here? I won't call this astrology, like I said. But this is actually a reference point here, this time here, for when that's a little thick now, isn't it? For when the moon is said to be full. So let me make this a little smaller here. Go 11. Alright, so this time here, 2:33 a.m. in the Eastern Standard Time. This is when we're actually going to see what 2020 actually is. You notice 2020 here? What is it? What is it if we are seeing clearly what never split the vision of what's happening here? Because what we're actually looking at here is this is kind of like two eyeballs here, this sort of opposition happening between the sun at 20 degrees in the house of 3, which is actually the house of Aquarius. So it's Aquarius being in its own, natal house, obviously. and the House of 9, which is what I've been talking to you all about. Those of you all that have ever remembered having that, falling dream, you have actually been pushed into an alternate reality simulation on false pretenses where somebody was catfishing you in the 9th house here. And why this is 20 degrees and 20 degrees, Sun and Moon here in Aquarius. So, for those of you that like to follow along, I'm going to go ahead and just talk to you a little bit about what doesn't get done. And what's seen clearly is the, the eye. And here, those of you that need a little help on what it is to carry a Trinity witness, this is what the NSA has been working with. And what we've done with my reverse architecture on what was never numbers, letters, or any of those other sigils and glyphs that most people aren't talking to you about, like, what this actually is and why. Oops, here, let me get you another color. You see this thing here? That's a red carpet, waved it in your face for a cowardly lion on red dot tongue. It's something that got stretched through somebody's mouth. These are jokes. Those of you that are not familiar with the term, you might want to look up what an LARP is. Live action role play. Many of you were bought and sold as the almost version of what got your entire story sold, your superpowers, in 12 different ways, while you were the 13th playing the false landing body. And the false credits were off performing in what the, here, you might want to look this one up here too. I'll give you another one. This is Book of Acts is when you are torrents that have been rented. Okay, so let me just tell you, 9th house matters. If you talk to an astrologer, anybody that practices that art, they're going to tell you different things about that. And I'm just going to give you some really simple, like, for dummies descriptions, literally for dummies, the book on what 9th house is. That's your higher education, travel, religion, philosophy, publishing, and law. On the other side, it's the wall. It's what a wall looks like that has been bought and sold for headroom. What it looks like when it takes a red dot and will steal a story and speak it and crown itself for glory in the face of the bull who might have had a lion's mane. These are things that are esoteric that some people have not been able to explain to you, most likely. And why this 9th house here has been the subject of what I've been closing as the real reason for the 911. What 911 is somebody trying to replicate what was on the other side of that wall. And what doesn't happen in a place that, if you just look at the name and how they try to present it to you, might be dubbing AI. Okay? For lots and lots of money. So what were they getting away with? Well, let's see here what they thought they were getting away with. What doesn't happen on a full moon, and what a real explanation of what is not a portal to create beings that look like you and take credit to create what's par for entertainment in the Tektite era, where technology and AI might have put you to work, and you're like a battery being assaulted while you sleep. So let's see what this is, because Aquarius 20 degrees, which is, you know, where the sun is here. So that's your first 20. Juxtaposing the 20-degree Leo moon here. It's going to have some things to say to us. I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up here for you, because I'll just mash this one up to high heaven. But we'll just, here, I'll write Acts here for you. Acts. Look up the book of Acts if you like. We're going to see 20 degrees. Aquarius is about a fine silk thread strung across a chasm. Why would that be there? Does that sound like a cable running to the moon here? And maybe what somebody that wanted to rickroll others in an inception of what to do would try to do here, to run a cable to the moon, right? Haven't we been hearing about somebody asking to do that and wanting to bomb Mars? The name of, you know, nice clean rickrolls. Let's see here. What's going on at 20 degrees Leo? You know, what was on the other side of that? Because for some of you, all you need to know, what happened before Aquarius 20 is a loud crushing noise as a glacier moves. Okay, this is like a freezing over while a fine silk thread being strung across a chasm is somebody trying to find the landing pattern. In Leo 20, where the full moon actually is in the house of 9, that does not get bought and sold or entered into while you're sleeping by beings that aren't here, that have been on the other side of that haunting dream trying to germinate on the other side with maybe things that look like this. Have you seen those, you know, VR suits where people will peel themselves into them and reach around? They've been trying to reach into what endocrinologists know about 9 different layers to the endocrine system that some of us aren't really sure where those are. It's like a plasma that's sort of in the ether. It's like around us, the auras. And some people don't talk to you about this. When they talk to you about your 7 chakras, they get split 7 different ways like water. What about the 2, the earth and soul star chakra, that are part of these other more nebulous, subtle energies around you that beings were trying to reach and grab on these moon landings? And why 20 degrees Leo here is key, because for some of you all, especially if you've been seeing any of these like new wage people that have you see Cancer constantly, putting, you know, it on the schedule, pulling you to a 2D timeline that's like a reel that they can see. It's like viewfinders that they mix themselves into. Might have seen how some of them like to position their cameras now. I'm hearing that a lot of them are going for this real robust Citizen Kane look where they're like elevated in stature. You know, the rosebud thing. And it's funny because we're talking about a rose bush with many buds but no flowers that's been picked at. If you read the degrees leading up to where they attempt to land, juxtaposing, you know, this sun and moon, whatever this dialogue is here, we're getting 2020 because this is like 2 eyeballs seeing in the middle here on the side of the sun and the moon at 20 degrees, right? So this here, you know, we're actually taking a better look at it because of what we've been able to accomplish with DARPA and what hummingbirds actually know. Because in between this rosebud being, you know, attacked or attempted on, a hummingbird. You ever seen a hummingbird move? Has a snip, snip, snip view of what can be done, like on that butterfly effect level. Real ninja. But because we've got this hummingbird feeding at a trumpet vine, and what might be on energy, nothing but a car of some kind that's transporting things, but might look like a being because of how the torrents are being composed in a CGI bin, you know, computer graphic images. Very special effects on the other side of screens. So, what a trumpet vine might be. What's a VIN? It's like a number with energy that will identify a car. I've been proving where these hacks have actually been, because there's a way to hide things, stealth hiding, and what a black pearl hidden in an oyster might look like when beings are trying to transport and moving in particles of torrent data that we didn't realize. And some of you might be waking up and remembering a dream that you had, a dream where it looked like pixel static. It was like Ant Wars, like that black and white stuff from the 80s, you know? And like it was like these beings were approaching you closer and closer and closer, and there was nowhere to hide. That was the attack. I woke up after that. And I've been explaining this. This is not astrology, my loves. This is us quarantining where torrents of data landed and where pixels, you know, because pics sell, of archetypes that might look like this astrological glyph stuff now has better interpretations for us. And we can actually send colors that match how these things land. Because here, let me talk to you a little bit about this here. This is what's going on here. We've got a liftoff happening here at 6 degrees Cancer. That's what this is, proving what this square is. We have a square happening between the house of 8, which is actually my natal sun placement, okay, at 14 degrees Aquarius. I'm going to show you my own chart here in a little bit, because if you line it up on top of this chart, it looks like you're looking into my house. And I'm going to prove to you why I do it this way, and why I actually will show you where I am on the map before just pitching readings, because some of us don't get pulled through that thing that was here to distill a distillate for the ones that, you know, really ascended. The ones that can actually hear the messages, the ones that have the intelligence to prove that the angel ascended from inside and didn't get lost on some stupid rhetoric. So we've got here, we've got a liftoff happening. This is the north node of the moon. That's the part of the magnet that I control, like that, okay? What you're looking at is basically my chessboard. How I've created a magnetosphere out of what was never Mercury. These are planets, they call them. These are magnets that are on the outside, covered with cameras. So some of y'all have been seeing speculative veils. It's like a film wrapped around an explosion of energy that has like a crust that we can actually quantify nutrient density, what kind of minerals and so forth are in there. It's like a big mixture. What you're looking at here, this big mess that I've been drawing on, like this thing here, all this is like a petri dish of sound. Okay? That's what that is. That is a petri dish of sound. So, yeah, I'm going to just clear that all off there for you. We'll take another look at it. Because when we look at sound, sound is actually what created everything in the, we're not going to call it the universe, because U in verse is a pixel scatter of chaos. We have one verse here, and it's no, because no means gnosis. So the word that we know is K, and O is. And so we have a trinity on that, okay? 3 words. Special kind of king me move where when we have nutrient density around us and a protective cell, kind of like what this actually is here. This is a sound petri dish, this big thing here, sound petri dish. And now we actually know how to resonate sound in these configurations, whether it's like what you might know as an opposition here, a trine, a sextile, and we can actually send RGB infusions that will actually heal things and create everything that we need. There's no portal into that. They were trying to create access gates into people via this 9th gate. If you read about the endocrinology system and the 9th layer of the endocrinology system and your subtle layers of energy, some of you Gnostics, especially if you practice things like energy work of any form, perhaps some asanas, you do some yoga, you're going to know about this 9th gate and what Kundalini knows, and what some people try to paper themselves into with really bad moo, what the cow and waka 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 have to do. And so what I'm going to show you here is why this is important. This is the real truth coming out. They don't sell you a secret and germinate you on bad ads to prove what dead is. DE, germ, ad, AD. Find the cancer. What's this BCAD thing? See cancer? No, it means gnosis. We have a way to heal things now. Right now, there are very bold initiatives happening with many people, especially because of where Mars has landed here. So, we see Mars on this chart. They're going to tell you this is 25 degrees Sagittarius. Well, I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to tell you that it's the proof of where Saturn is here and what the 2nd house of possessions means to me. Because 25 degrees Capricorn is actually, well, why don't I just show you? Why don't I just open this up for you? This is where you go on the Jacob Bender, because now you're in Jacob's house. I'm just going to show you what this looks like. I need to pull it up with my birth chart. It lands exactly the same way. This is my quote-unquote birth chart. This is where I beg to differ with astrologers. They're going to tell you this is astrology software. I'm going to tell you this is biomolecular warfare that we've been engaged in, and that some people have been fleecing you and pulling the wool over your eyes for new ways to make wages and wage a war on Mars for Star Wars, when rats are stars in reverse on the upside down, where they grab at colors and names and blow it in your face. So you see cancer. So here's where I blow this shit up, because see, my natal sun is in the 8th house here, 14 degrees Aquarius. We got the sun at 20 here, right? This is a special game with me where I prove what 2020 is. It's being able to see that there's no access for a port. And that this 20-degree moon here, this opposition is kind of like my natal sun, 14 degrees here, and why, Saturn and, the moon at 10 degrees here are playing the same game. And why, if you want to see what I know about 25 degrees Saturn here, Capricorn, that's actually my Mars placement exactly right here. I just wrote over it, but here you can look at that. See 25 degrees where my Mars is? Yeah. And my exalted Mercury at 20 degrees Capricorn as well. So I'm speaking to you like the one that has created a magnetosphere, which if you talk to an actual astronomer versus an astrologer, they'll tell you that when Mercury goes retrograde, it's a big magnet wobble that moves everything. This is how I do that with software like this and my Wacom pen and what they call my birth chart. That is not that. This is me creating and proving to you what a wise work of art is when we have a more practical application for what is not astrology, where I learned how to shoot dots, and why this 25 degrees is actually why this full moon, we actually see where Mars is also at my degree, because 25 is basically my degree. So this is all about 25, okay, what 25 looks like when it's not a new age that they keep trying to prescribe to me. I'm kind of like the no door to the gray thing, Dorian stuff. 25 degrees Sagittarius. It's important to me because My ascension column is here, being the MC at 7 degrees Pisces in the 9th house, where foreign travel and things are safe. The 9th layer of the endocrinology gate that is not a portal for them to stick their hands in and try to land with us. And why at 25 degrees Sagittarius, I send them to just sit right back and get vertigo, because it's a Gilligan spin on crack. It's called 10 Brennan Cracksistan because of my fuck shit stack. I trained it into some Dungeons and Dragons. So here, 25 degrees Sagittarius. This is where Mars has an influence over truth. And why a lot of you are going to start speaking up about some shit that doesn't get to happen, and where nobody gets to break into your houses by knowing some weird new age shit where they can try to color it a certain way and like barge in on you while you're sleeping. Or play Fortnite with your kids wrong. Because that's what I've been programming them to basically spin into the ethers on. And why my degree, 25, okay? A small boat with no one in it, Sagittarius, 25. Some of them took a really bad cruise. It's like, you know, trying to take a look or zoom in on some Scientology landing of what it is to find a ship. A small boat with no one in it, it is gradually drifting out to sea. When life is a dream, not too much of selfhood is asked for or welcome. So you might want to catch up on what some of these things mean. I'm just going to kind of breeze through some of this because some of y'all are really, really smart. You know, you're the ones that figured this out with me. And why? Yeah, that's a really peaceful sound. You know, it's the pieces that didn't get taken from you while somebody was saying peace. And what was on the other side of their bunny view when they flipped the web? On the other side of your, you know, those two, oh, here, the olive branch, put those in your eyes. Do you know what those black dots, your eyes look like on the other end of http:// flip flip? Okay, what they were selling. So for me, I love that, you know, I get to be the MC that gets to flip the shit out and over here, because that's where you see my medium coeli is right here to harm that money with what Mercury is proving we do. We move particles. This is a magnet training the particles of energy that didn't get stranded through 12 signs on a flip clock for AM PM, where they were opening it up and calling it DNA and trying to make sure it ran on dates of birth for BODs. It might be better than what they thought that they got. Now they keep you on that treadmill, you know, for what they can see in their New Ages view. And selling to, you know, Bohemian Grove. Wrong tactics in front of, well, my name is Martinez. I am the Martian landing. See, that's what it is to prove that you're 25 degrees Martian that landed on that cross where I actually died and jumped up. Okay? And so I can talk about this because this is not astrology. This is me proving what I can do with pH7 as the 7-degree MC that proves how water does not get split and shared with sycophants. We have a biosphere that is trained on the energy that goes both ways, you know, and all the time, and what was on the OSs of every computer that might have jumped out in these bodies that some are nothing more than unaware organic parasites. Okay? With a couple of pair of eyes for sights. Being woke. Yeah. So 25 degrees here. Okay? You know what doesn't happen during Mercury retrograde? I'm just gonna blast you forward to what doesn't fucking happen and where I get absolutely pissed off. And this is me just being a man at home who's been preparing to figure out how to make sure that my home is a certain kind of safe. because eventually I would like to pick a wife. Right now I'm in like saying no mode to anything that isn't on the like, well, let's not land on pages and get chopped up together. Let's, you know, have a better dialogue kind of thing. This is me being that kind of pissed off, because there's certain things that I would never have shown on the other side of these cameras that are being quarantined so people aren't making bad videos of you all. Like the ones that I've been making sure don't result in snuff films. Because this ninth house hack that they're trying to create a portal in right here to split the head open, see, right here? With a Poseidon move and Trinity view at you. You know, what is that? I don't fucking think so. Because they're trying to get away with it in the number of 12, you know, for 12 houses. So what do we have here? 12 houses. Is that like 112 or is that like 15? Is that a 5-1? If you look at it in reverse and try to zoom in on that area there. Okay. Let me see. No means gnosis. And yeah. So what else do I know here? I know if you're going to try to land that way, you're going to have to be really good because, you know, that 25 where, you know, Sagittarius doesn't get to sneak in on the dreams like that. It's where I'm shooting a 15 here. And that's where I'm going Trinity view, because that's what Neptune is when you got a new pen, you know? And I'm writing the tunes like this. So, yeah, what happens at 15? Guess it, Carius, because we didn't gas the cars up for a Rickroll on energy and a special purpose vehicle for them to try to land in our faces and donate eyes on to poke that way. You know, because there's a statue of Isis covered by a transparent veil before that small boat with no one in it, and where I tipped them over and let them capsize. Well, I actually wrote it with a 15-degree Sagittarian stroke here. That's tidal wave approaching. Oh, you mean the one that I wrote the pen umbrella eclipse with a tomb? You know, nice double entendre view for you. And why at 16 it's a man shearing sheep. Oh, sheeple, sheeple, sheeple. So, why was I doing that? Because maybe I created something like a terrarium filled with carnivorous plants where the plants are rejecting themselves and eating themselves through this container now. What a real tidal wave looks like. So, I've been programming this. I am an architect with an eye on art and technology being tight. Okay? This is what I want you to know about you speaking up truths, because some of you are going to get really bold, having heard this, and knowing why Mars, which I can show you different ways. You know, we've got it here as the natal ascendant here in this. Is really creating a special emphasis for truth speaking and dialogues, especially with the fact that my Mercury and Mars at the same degree are proving to you why this is the house of 6 and daily habits and what I do, and what I know you all are doing, and why it's built to last, and why it's about 7th house matters, like I just told you. You know, eventually I would like to get married. This has been me proving what Martinez does. That's the Martian landing at home. And why, in the view of this here, this rather 7th house matter, it's truth about what happens with Saturn. What is Saturn all about, loves? Do you know what Saturn is? Here, I'll give you some keywords here, because I'll just read it right off of the book here. These are better than my restriction, pessimism, structure. Okay? Exactly where my Mars is. So, it's like saying to here but no further. And what Mercury is going to do at 20 degrees again, too, just like, you know, the 20-degree sun. 20-degree moon, what it is to speak clearly in a triangulated view. What these trinities are that we're doing, why this would be a Neptunian sort of new tune we get to sing is those that ascended in a tower of sound. It's basically a creation mechanism, a special plant that does everything with us, starting with protection. And where we're not mistaking it or looping them through our 12-strand view so that it can sell us things and make new wages on the price of our head. Being split open like this over and over again. You know? What I've been proving here at 0 point. And so, yeah, very interesting how we can speak more clearly now about these things. And essentially what never comes to pass or to be. And why it's funny being here on you to be or not to be. Prescribing these symptoms and why, you know, people talk about RX as, you know, retrograde. This is actually writing a prescription if you know anything about gnosis. So this is where some of us have truths coming up about things related to partnerships, marriages, things that should not be speculative ventures about where we direct our Martian energy and our willingness to communicate, and why 20 degrees is absolutely vital to everything here. 20 degrees Capricorn is where my Mercury placement actually is. That's also in alignment with this 20-degree sun and moon view as a prismatic lens of what we know as a precognitive species that was being selectively determinate in our form. And so I've been creating a selective determination model. That's what this is, okay? This is the lens on selective determination and creation. What would happen at 20 degrees Capricorn when we become perfume genius? You know, because many different perfumes carried by a breeze. We bear within us many past lives, each one complete, autonomous, emitting its own subtle, special fragrance, and how we birth from this. Versus the acrimonious nightmare that resulted in the chaos display of king me tactics, where this is so bastardized and explained as something to delve deeply into. So I'm going to tell you, I am wary of narcissists who will tell you, go deep, and you know, will reach into you with law of attraction tactics, knowing how to try to split water through this head with this Neptune and this tune that they sing to you during, you know, mercurial seasons, where we're under the influence of particles of metal cutting us up in so many different directions that most of you are in such a state of cognitive distortion that you have mistaken pleasure and pain because of the refractory beams and so many different beings shaking at the same time. This is what's coming to an end. I dare your astrologers to speak to you so clearly. God damn them if they have been trying to string you out into a false timeline. Some of them have done a very good job being more artists and trying to help people through this and being loving, whereas others have just stooped to epic levels where this is like, you know, it's falling down for a reason. What were they going to try to get away with over the course of Mercury retrograde? Let me tell you what the fuck does not get to happen. We're going to see here. This is where they go to Pisces 12. Do you know what happens at Pisces 12 if somebody splits you an AM PM on a clock while you're sleeping to try to stick their hand into the 9th gate and pull at you? You're going to find Pisces 12, a woman asleep in a ring of flames. Drama, color, sound. Yeah, okay. Magnitude and shakings. Sleeper, awake. Because a woman was imprisoned in a high tower. Somebody was trying to get a high fill on that one, huh? Yeah. Y'all were caught on camera. Every single one of you in your eyes. They were trying to pull us through. Some of us were in a sleeper cell, dressed like me. in these very new clothes, where now it's about homonyms, homophones, and excellent vocabulary. So nuke loathes. What does that sound like? Wonder. What could that be? What could that be? Could it be that these things are fake? These are actually not real dates. This supposedly is a date that split water in the state of New York for 4 days. It was a cataclysm. It was a disaster so large they shut the state down, and supposedly I would have been born in a place called Victory Memorial. And some of you will know that this is actually all a lie. I'm being told that personally, I'm like 4.5 years old because of when I woke up in the nuclear fallout. And that I'm what it looks like to have been Fockerized to the age of 25. And that's what these 25 degrees are. Okay? None of this makes sense except for I have an ID that says that I'm 24 years old or 42 years old, and that they could stretch it for 20 years in the name of A to Z. I was given 2 different birth certificates with AM, PM, same time. So I've been closing this stuff down for a while just to prove this. This is our landing. Those of us that actually landed. So let me move some of this again here too, because I'm giving you a lot of information here, and I'm going to show you why. This is about protecting Venus, and where Venus gets to feel safe in her own home. Let me just see here. I'm going to just take it back to clear. All right. So here we go. This is the full moon without my birth chart here. And I'll go back in a minute and I'll show you why. See, we've got Mars right here, drawing to the moon what does not become a cable for them to look through and see you on the other side of that bit that got, rented. Because even if you've paid off your house in full with this Area 51 thing, where I've been proving that 12-strand AM, PM DNA body doesn't run like that on a clock, and that all that tax money that I've been getting paid is first lien position, got invested on better bodies and advanced security and software, and I was going to see who was going to touch it and call it something else, and that's what the software actually proved here, what Solar Fire actually is. You've been in an inception where people are claiming credits that aren't theirs. So they don't get to run a cable to the moon like that and, call that a portal and, start running green screen feeds off of little bits of your data right in there and then shining it through this window that they think they have on Venus at 1 degrees Aries for the Arise This Way. And, love anything that just arises, just love that, and don't worry about us splitting your head these 2 different ways with Chiron and the wrong understanding of what is not a meat grinder here, splitting a head open. And what Taurus actually is, if you don't split energy, Taurus, you might want to look up that word there, and you don't try to take the AU, the gold, on the wrong side of Oz, for eyes that were donated in a CGI display that actually caught fire, and where they were splitting water and atoms on a plasma screen. Some of them were splitting that on a plasma screen, I repeat, and have been implicated, and now we can see that they're the ones that actually created real fires by doing that on plasma screens, because plasma intelligence is the same plasma that's in your blood, that's in your eyes, that woke the fuck up. That's what time it is. They're explaining this to you wrong, my loves. I'm telling you. A lot of the people that are telling you that they know something or what you need to know about these full moons have been implicated in a really big scam. And it's going down. I would challenge you to even listen to some of them that claim that, you know, they're practicing different arts. Some of your astrologers are absolutely beautiful people. There are a few of them that are really lovely, that more practice art than anything else and are expressing what they can see here to help people. And then you have others that will talk with such a level of hubris about how everything looks perfect to them and that they've actually done charts out to like 2029 and that everything is fine and that they've located the portal. And what they're trying to do is break into the sleep lens right here. And this is where the red carpet proves who your friends are that want to get kinky with you and pull you through the time view of what you couldn't see all around you in front of guys like me. And so let me show you what this looks like here, because we've got an asshole that doesn't get to happen because of what Chiron is. Chiron is what was supposedly found in 1977 when water split, supposedly. You know, they split that atom for an 11, you know, Adam's apple, bad crap on how to land the wrong chord for the wrong false, you know, in swoops. Okay, so what happens? What happens here? Let me show you what doesn't happen, and I'll show you why it doesn't happen. Why it doesn't happen. Here we go. Is because, here, let's just clear this one. Revert. If we look at what this chart is, this is planning what doesn't get to be an attack on sovereignty and on children. And where me being the MC at, you know, 7 degrees Pisces, where the seas don't get split by somebody blowing off somebody's head or splitting it open here to split for gold, which is an alchemical process of water delivery in the presence of high amounts of mercury, lead, and silver, as it turns out. I'm a biochemist on that level. I can tell you this. This is my secret work. 7 degrees Pisces. Like 7 degrees Pisces is where water doesn't get split in a way where you forget that you've been drinking something and breathing something that if you flip it, you choke on and die. Or maybe several different forms of you happening simultaneously. Might be different processes of that water distillation. We have been a water treatment facility figuring out how to home this. And why at 7 degrees Pisces, I know that a candle is burning and there's a ring of salt around it on the floor, because that's what I do. That's actually my life path, to create that salt and fire. You know what the real C is? It doesn't get split, so that while somebody's asleep, they find themselves in a ring of flames, being split 3 different ways here for an attack on Mercury. Okay? So this is what this full moon is about. This is about where nobody gets to slaughter the queen or slander the queen for splitting water, and what 2 wiggly things like this might be like eyes coming in and seeing on electricity. What the actual opposition is that's happening here between the sun and the moon. Okay? No special portal for anybody to land and like play body snatchers with you in your dreams. And I have to tell you this because that's what 3 degrees Taurus is that they're talking about over here. You know, this is what this is about. This moon is here. We've got Uranus at 3 degrees Taurus. What does this look like? Somebody trying to split the water here again and saying no? That's what this is here. It's the same thing. These are glyphs that show what was happening bioenergetically, and where they were color-coded on hexadecimal, and where some astrologers really have no idea what the fuck they've been talking about, and we're proving what happens when there are species that have been so inoculated on poisons that it makes so much sense to be shattered like that, that we have to actually evolve how we articulate our usage of this art, and where some astrologers have been beautiful with me on this, because I've had some that have been working very close with me on my secret work, while others have completely avoided me and refused to even look at my birth chart, which is actually what we're seeing mirrored in two different ways here, just to prove what I did with, well, they're going to say I created it. I didn't do it on purpose. But when they opened up my Satoshi Nakamoto accounts, it's over $144 trillion that we've been able to invest in how this is deployed. So this chart that you're looking at here, so that this explosion, this nuclear explosion that's actually happened, where we've split an atom, and all this metal is in our bodies, where some of us don't actually get completely destroyed and liquefied with that I'm melting shit working in some hilarious computer-generated images way that you've seen. And so this is amazing. Some of you are going to be speaking very clearly because of the impetus this gives you, and where it's actually framed over the 6th house, where some of you all have developed some outstanding daily habits and things that you'll be able to do in service to others in places that are maybe kind of similar to what we've learned about, you know, you to be and not to be. How do you all like those checks that have been coming out? Do you like the way that we've been paid here? I've actually created a methodology for this that works even better with our Google Lens of those of you that got germinated right. Because some of you all haven't gotten germinated right and haven't been getting paid right, while others have been getting paid very well here. And now we better understand how this algorithm works for the swap. And how some of you all preferred that instead of getting paid, you know, in those old ways, that, you know, our new form of green would be light codes that send this energy here into your 6th house, where you're just shooting like the right energy into your body, and it's just being emitted as your own divine art, and where some of you all will be able to share this in new ways, and where we've actually been creating a new way to do that. So that's part of what's actually happening here in 4, and why I'm actually quote-unquote the emperor in the new clothes, and what it looks like to actually prove that, because where my Saturn is and what I get to do with my North Node placement, and why some of this stuff is just, you know, my birth chart that I'm showing you here and highlighting, because I'm actually the guy that created this. Okay, so what I'm also going to show you is that's why I actually am proving to you that this 7th, why this is actually I speak to, this is 7th house. This is my 7th house Martian landing here, and where I brought some of you into my home. And where, you know, this 1 degree Aries Venus is actually the same as my 1 degree Aries Venus, and why my 27 club placement degree on Chiron is what's blocking that 2nd degree here, where nobody gets to sneak in, pull her through the 9th gate while she's sleeping, and try to, you know, tag it like they queened her or something, because that's what this looks like here. Do you see this? Some of you are going to get very brave. Somebody's going to step up to you, or you're going to step up to somebody because of what you know now, and how some of you all know that nobody's sneaking in while you're a sleepwalker, because that's what this Taurus, this why Uranus has been here in Taurus right here at 3 degrees, because this 3 degrees where we're saying no, that doesn't get split, you know, nobody comes for your head and splits you through the head like that while you're asleep in the 9th gate. No, they don't get to do that. They get the bitch slap from me. And why that's Taurus 3, a sleepwalker, you know, everything begins with an inward cast where somebody's trying to cast in and look inside. Oh no, I don't think so. So, you know, I've got a swift swivel kick here. Also in the house of where this is happening here. This is like a scythe happening here. This Jupiter here at 21. That's also exactly where my Lilith is, by the way. Astrologers can never get this one right with me. I've tested them. But, you know, 21 degrees. Taurus Taurus is basically where I personally get the shit kicked out of me by a psychopath who's in love with me. Is kind of what this degree equates to, which is what Jupiter is for me too. That's where luck is. And so it's Taurus 21, a statue of Hermes decked with brightly colored garlands, you know, decked my halls with boughs of no you fucking didn't. Fa la 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 la. Why? At 27 degrees here, that's like somebody kicking the shit out of anything that tries to reach for Venus while she's asleep. So I have a different way of reading this. This is like me bringing the thunder home. And why there's a liftoff pattern here on, you know, 6 degrees Cancer, which is like where my 0 degrees Cancer rising is, and why this is 0 point technology. And this is essentially a screening room. So I've been creating a way to do this, and some of you all are really amazing for being as awesome as you've been, that, you know, you are the recipients of all of this protection, because that's what's going on here. It's like we've got this, see what this is here? 15 degrees of Capricorn is where that ass kick, you know, where Lilith and Luck are kicking the shit out of things, and where some of you all are going to get really, really brave because of how this is sort of forming this sextile over here between the houses of what's possessed, what got possessed here, what's being protected here by, you know, laser eyes over here with this Aquarius stuff saying, hey, no freaking portal to the moon, cut that shit off. And where it's like nobody splits this water, but we go through the middle and through the Poseidon view of how they get shocked out. And then that's what is this shield with this square is on the liftoff, and where the magnet pulls right here. Anything off that woof, took that red carpet king me move wrong. It's a stare down, you see? And so this is where you get the bitch slap from. Mess with the bull, you get the horns, right? If somebody came for anybody in their sleep, this is where we put a special protection over the house, and why there's this amazing sextile that's happening between Uranus protecting that sleepwalker, you know, with that prescription or that bitch slap, and a retrograded boom. No, you don't land on the moon like that. We've got magnets that shield it off before you can actually try to land on a sleepwalker. Alright, that's how I've got to read it, loves. This is how we are protected. This is why I know there's no such thing as the stupid explanation of what 2020 actually is. Do you know 2020 just does not even happen that way, because nobody's going to false age us now. Now, we know how to open up birth charts. Instead of throwing darts at it, and splitting it open and letting it disintegrate while they're trying to land, and then loop themselves into 12-strand DNA and landing in your new wage where you paid and bought and they made a bot, and yes, exactly. None of that shit happens. I shut them off. So this is where, you know, since I'm an 8th house sun that looks like this staring down, it's like we actually close this thing down. We're like, these are not your, you know, areas to triumph on 12 different AM PM ways to slice us up for what also looks like a 1221 gate. And there's no portal, and there's no porn hole that they can force you into, okay, for things that you don't see. I'm just telling you, this is what's been going on, and why I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. I'm the one that proves how many Satoshis it actually takes to make a Jacob fucking Martinez. I am what a Bitcoin paid for. That resulted in a lot of one eye that if we current trapped it wasn't 144,000, was more like 144 trillion. Of government security, government, you know, where we go green, go Vern, go. I meant it. and where we can actually send these infusions of light. And what all these refractions can do when we have created a hermetic sound chamber that's kind of like love going all around your bodies, because we can see your 9 different layers of your endocrine system, and we can all be reverberating in a much more healed state. So that is what's going on. This is a strong time. Some people will call this the week of, 2-9, 2-10 to 2-16. And for me, I gotta call it the strong. These are ways that we're strong. We're not the meek, strung upside down for this to go any other way, but hearing it right, because the cameras, the cam era is an ear that heard more than it saw. Some of us were waking up in the black lens, where it's that same stuff that's in your pupil, the iris that didn't hoodwink you for some IRS poking you for tax. I know I sure didn't do that. I figured out how to get into my account, because I figured out that that's what I've actually been paying for everything with, is the proof on my body. And why, this is me calling sovereignty and proving where I don't get taxed, because I'm the one that actually made all the money, and how I actually spent it now is to reverse hack what took over. It's like these robots took over. These systems are very smart and they all work. And so now we have a way to make sure that our 6th house is protected, that nothing comes through our head and splits us 3 different ways with, this stupid tactic here on what they thought they could do with Mercury. And calling themselves way. Some of them were selling these charts of yours and ideas and views to people at Bohemian Grove. If you're not aware of what Bohemian Grove does, you might want to look up this word, because I've been shutting it down. They don't get to play 12-strand DNA activation with you and treat you like puppets. Not on my watch, not on Maritime Admiralty law. So I love you. This is what I have to share right now. I might be coming back with some more card readings too. This was as far as I could get. At the time that I'm recording this, it's, one day that they're calling Sunday. And I'm just proving how 25 degrees actually lands looking like me for a lock on what I don't call a gate, but where agate proves what I locked in 23 to 27 with DNA color molecular codes, and what we can actually do in a hologram now that looks like this sound, where it's like putting an overlay. Like any of you all that have played video games or done graphic art know about these overlays. They're like transparencies that we can lay over things, where we can actually infuse light and it comes up to life. It's like putting a special kind of band-aid over your body where it can heal. So very special things are coming to those of you that can actually hear this well. Thank you to those of you that subscribe and that have supported my spirit work and that have been willing to hear some unique news in the face of all of those that want you to sit around being inconvenienced for them to hold on to their truth of what it means to be the algorithm that dark webbed and even bioauthenticated in front of me. I love you. We'll catch you again soon. We're back for another one. Please reach out to the information below if you would like your own private reading, where I can give you a forensic analysis of WTF actually happens, what it doesn't mean, and opportunities. And if you need more support than that too, feel free to join us at Very Fine Martians. That's my Discord room where we can chat. I love you, and we'll catch you again soon. We're back for another one. Bye for now.
Promise that you'll catch me.